Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. I wanted to talk a bit about Alpha 3.18 today, some dev responses about the ballistic changes and head tracking changes, some stuff with targeting and suppression fire. I've been playing in Alpha 3.18 PTU Wave 1 and it's actually working pretty well now. It's very playable. Previously, it hadn't been, especially the first few days that it went to Wave 1, but in this latest T patch, and especially now, when there's potentially less people playing, or they've opened it up to more servers, I can't really tell, it is a huge amount more stable. I'm able to travel around all the different landing zones and go to different missions, complete most missions that I've tried. Occasionally my ship will disappear, but will reappear once I get close enough to it. Older missions as well, so some of the sort of cave diving missions where you're trying to find a body, they all seem to work pretty well now. Salvage is pretty good fun. Because of Christmas and New Year's, I've just been jumping into the game for just a few hours at a time, just trying to focus on certain things. Yesterday, I was messing around with the buggy PTV races at the Vision Center at Horizon. It is an unenforced race, so there's no sort of like mission associated with it at the moment or anything like that. It's a free-form racetrack where basically you can just visit there, grab a buggy, and go. There's a load of buggies there, and it would be a great laugh if you arranged a race there with your org mates or as a little competition. But the buggy is a little erratic to drive and will flip anytime it can. The buggy basically hates me. It's less Mario Kart and more like you're trying to play Mario Kart in real life with trolleys that all have wonky wheels. Does it have a proper use in the verse? Well, I mean, it's a good point of interest. It's a silly little thing like that. Maybe it will have some gameplay properly tied to it in the future. Emergent gameplay and sort of these points of interest that players can visit are at least something to do in the game. They do have a level of purpose. Maybe there'll be attacks there and stuff in the future too. It's also quite a good use of new dev energy. So you get a new sort of junior dev that's supposed to build out a level or whatever. While there's nothing for them to do or while they're getting up to speed, then bam, chuck them on a racetrack, chuck them on a more minor point of interest, get them to build up stuff here. And you can do that the same with like lighting artists and stuff like that. But yeah, really surprised that 3.18 isn't open PTU yet, because it's actually in a pretty good state, at least compared to what it was, and it might just be because, well, they haven't opened it up to enough servers, and most of Cloud Imperium are no longer at work. They are on their holidays until early to mid-January, so we're going to have to wait, unfortunately. Ballistic changes. So, Cloud Imperium have made some ballistic changes in 3.18, and there's a little feedback post which I want to read. As many of you have known, we've made ballistic changes that greatly increase the shield penetration of ballistic weapons, allowing them to bypass shields almost entirely. We want to get an idea of how this change has impacted overall weapon balance. We are particularly concerned with impacts on 1v1 fights, impacts on group and session length combat scenarios, how ballistics perform versus large ships, any other glaring issues or outlier weapons. So, Cloud Imperium want to know what players think of ballistic changes in 3.18. So, I just want to talk about from what I've seen and what I've read about this. So, currently, larger ships are getting pelted with ballistic weapons and they just get wrecked. Because ballistic weapons are hitting very regularly, obviously because it's a larger ship, and they do a huge amount of damage. So, either some sort of better absorption with larger shields for ballistics, or the armor or like a natural reduction for a larger ship. Built-in resistance for larger ships might be a good idea against ballistic damage. So really, what Cloud Imperium are trying to do, from what I can tell, is give us higher times to kill overall in ship combat, especially with larger ships. So that's the sort of gameplay that they want. But ballistics should be good for sort of penetrating through shields of a ship, should be good at taking out fighters and smaller ships, should be very good at taking out particular subsystems of a ship, or doing a large amount of damage quickly as like a sprint. But if you're going for more of a marathon, well, you're going to run out of ammo. They're not going to necessarily be the best damage dealers over a huge period of time. But if you want to damage quickly, then maybe they are the right choice for you. But they shouldn't be too OP. Now, in a 1v1, you want ballistic weapons. Yeah, if you're doing a PvP, if you're doing 1v1, you want to win that engagement. Bam, you're in a fighter, they're in a fighter. Pew, 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 I've got ballistics, they don't. I'm almost certainly going to win. I suppose I'm probably not, because I'm terrible at combat, but you get the idea. So what should change here in the current build, and what do I think the Cloud Imperium should do? So the rough idea was always that shields are good at resisting energy damage. That's what I would assume that Cloud Imperium are trying to do. That's how I'd assume shields would work. So yeah, ballistics penetrate a good amount through shields. Obviously they've ramped that up to 11, where ballistics pretty much almost entirely penetrate through shields and just do huge damage to a ship. So I would have expected then armor and hull to resist things like ballistics better, and ships that have better armor, better hulls are very good against ballistics, or significantly better than ships that don't have that. Currently, Star Citizen doesn't have differentiation between components beyond size. Weapons don't really have that much diversity, or at least not as much diversity as they could have. There are no physicalized components or true armor. There's no true damage system, sort of physicalized damage system anyway. And because of that, temporary balance of ballistics is not going to be perfect. Whatever they decide here, it's not going to be the final implementation of ballistic weapons and all that sort of jazz. We need a load of other things, all those features to come online before we can have true balance. I say true balance. It's never going to be true balance. That would be mad. But they're going to have a very good sort of set of balance passes and things like that will come online after they've got a huge amount of other changes in the game. Because we know that Cloud Imperium are making changes to general ship combat with sort of targeting improvements. They've got their master modes with nav mode, so you can sort of quantum travel, quantum boost, and go above SEM speeds in nav mode. I'm traveling really fast, but I don't have access to weapons or shields. And then in combat mode, you can't quantum travel and you can't go above your SEM speeds, but you do have access to your utility items, your weapons, and your shields. So combat is a deliberate choice with that. There's the resource management system as well, which is going to add a huge amount of nuance to the way that power and resources move around a ship, and will give you like damage control. It sort of starts to move away from artificial health pools for ships and go, well, actually, we've got physicalized components, and if they take damage, that's what happens to the ship. The power plant gets destroyed. That's destroyed. You got no power, boy. If you like take damage into a particular part of your circuitry in your ship, well, you might need to reroute it. Fires can break out. You might need to get an engineer down somewhere to sort of fix a fuse or a relay or something like that. So there's a load of these sort of big changes to ship combat coming throughout 2023. And it does feel that in 3.18, they have made ballistics a little too powerful, just being able to penetrate through shields so easily. Yes, there's a limited amount of ammo with ballistics, but if you're able to just get a few shots on each ship and just blow them up, that just seems what they were trying to avoid with the Ares Ion, for example. And they nerfed that to oblivion, at least in my opinion, as an Ares Ion owner. I am really interested to know what people think about where ballistic sort of weapons should be in the hierarchy. Should they just be like, I beat people one-on-one? Should larger ships have like a really good inbuilt resistance to that sort of stuff? Should there be shields that are just fantastic against ballistic weapons? Do you think it doesn't really matter until we have all these other systems in play anyway and they actually try and balance it properly? I did see some questions on Spectrum. Are we going to get some form of sort of suppression functionality with weapons and gimbals and being able to aim in that fashion, sort of World War II style? YogiCat responded, hey, the suppression functionality will not come with 3.18. It is part of the aiming and gunnery system updates, which are for Squadron 42, and require a bigger UI pass before they can be moved to the persistent universe. Another user posted, every time I hear Squadron 42, I want to cry. Is that normal? YogiCat again responded, nah, don't cry. If anything, the focus on Squadron 42 allows us to proceed faster on the flight and combat experience without getting distracted by the persistent universe or content-related feature requests. I know it's not very visible for you players yet, but from my dev point of view, we are progressing much faster than before. That's great to hear. I actually quite like YogiCat, and I like the fact he gets involved with the community and talks a lot, and I sort of trust on what he says, so looking forward to the changes that they're going to be making there. There was another thread that I saw. Head tracking was merged with Free Look. Now it's broken. The fix requires more work. Nobody asked for this. Why was it necessary? YogiCat responds here too. The work on head tracking and Free Look was simply maintenance work to reduce further coding costs in the future. Head tracking and Free Look went through separate code paths in the past with a huge rat's tail on it, and now it's performing a lot better and bugs are a lot easier to fix, and it's easier to extend going forward without caring whether a player uses Free Look or a head tracking device. And that is saving development costs in the future. There is absolutely nothing special about it. It happens every day in software development. It's a bit unfortunate that we haven't had time to update the data yet, but those are perks of early access and PTU builds. It's definitely not broken. The angles are slightly narrower, which will be fixed in the future, and there is a bit of an issue with EVA, which will be fixed as well, but that's hardly game-breaking. That's it for your dev responses and little 3.18 update today. I am really excited for 3.18 getting into our hands for OpenPTU and then live, so you can expect that sort of early to mid-January for the OpenPTU, and then live late January. That's what it's looking like. Once we're done with the new year, Zin and I will be really plowing through some of that 3.18 content, and there's a load of cool gameplay to do, especially as a pair or a group, from sort of much bigger and more interesting cargo runs to shipboarding, FPS missions, those sand caves, loads of new points of interest, racing, and salvage gameplay, which really, really benefits, even on the Vulture, really benefits from having another pair of hands to move stuff around with the tractor beam. We've even got sort of the sort of rudimentary crafting as well with the salvage filler machines. I'm really interested to know what you think of 3.18 if you've been playing it. What do you think of the feedback and what you've seen of it so far? When you're expecting 3.18 to actually be live? Do you expect end of January or sooner? Do you think we'll have Alpha 4.0 out by the end of next year? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Do you have eyes? I know I do. Do you want precise eye and head tracking that's natively supported in Star Citizen for that deep immersion? And it just so happens that Tobii Eye Tracker 5 has a 20% off sale until the 2nd of January 2023. So go to tobii.gg/BoredGamer or follow the links down below to get your discount.
Ho ho ho! Merry Nordmas!
It's Santa!
No, Timmy, it's Father Nordmas. I'm legally distinct and spread NordVPN cheer. Here you go, little Tim. Have some discount on your next NordVPN purchase. Just what you wanted. Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer.
But Santa, we don't want a VPN.
I told you, Tim, it's Father Nordmas.
Every month we have a ship giveaway. For December, we are giving away the mighty Drake Corsair Explorer with a Star Citizen game package and lifetime insurance. This no-nonsense Explorer can take you and 3 friends to the limits of adventure around the verse, and although more focused on exploration and expedition, it is a great multi-role mission runner too. Comment on any of my videos during December to be in for a chance of winning that. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Please don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the videos, leave comments, and if you feel so inclined, use the join button under my videos and give a little bit each month to help the channel. It really, really does help. Or you can even become a Patreon or donate. Check out all the links below. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great time in the verse.